Now, Greenland is keeping a close watch on developments in Washington, D.C., because incoming President Donald Trump has said he wants to take control of the island to bolster US national security. But although self-governing, Greenland is part of Denmark. DW correspondent Jack Parrock reports now from the capital Nuuk on how Greenlanders view Trump's designs on their homeland.
Majestic natural beauty and ferociously cold, frequently changing weather. The world's attention has landed here in Greenland after Donald Trump repeated his idea that the US could buy the country. He even sent his son here for a photo opportunity with locals. But the foreign policy goals of the new US administration can feel distant to the people we spoke to here in Nuuk.
It's not a country to be bought. Like, United States is not to be bought either. So I'm not interested to be bought. I'm not a house or a purchase you can carry.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I almost don't care.
I don't really like this idea, like being part of, like essentially be part of United States, America. So, but like, what I do like is like, I like to work with them.
Ice sheets in Greenland are melting, and exploration for lithium, uranium and other critical materials is ramping up. Trump says buying Greenland is strategic for US national security against a strident China and a meddlesome Russia. Both countries are also exploring for resources in the high Arctic. Right now, fishing makes up over 90% of Greenland's exports. But Greenland's biggest employer currently is the government. 43% of the population work for it. And as an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, Greenland effectively receives just under €1 billion per year from the Danish government. The truth is that when you speak to people here in Greenland about Trump's idea to buy their country, the conversation inevitably and frankly swiftly moves on to being about whether Greenland should be independent from Denmark. That's a decades-long battle here. It's estimated around 2/3 of Greenlanders would vote to be fully independent from Denmark. Like MP Kuno Fenker, who's campaigning for an independence referendum by 2030. He'd enthusiastically welcome a visit by the returning president in the White House.
I really hope he will come here and that he will speak directly to our government and not the government in Denmark. We are tired of having a middleman in everything. We want our own sovereignty. We want our right to have our saying in foreign politics ourselves.
Denmark has refused to entertain the idea of the US taking over Greenland. And people are asking themselves here whether Trump's interest will fade away as other global issues land on the desk of his presidency.
Our correspondent Jack Parrock filed that report and he joins us now from Nuuk in Greenland. Jack, it looks very beautiful where you are and very cold as well, so thank you for joining us. I know you've been in Greenland for a few days and you've spoken to lots of people there. We heard from some of them in your report. Tell us more about how they're reacting to all of this attention that Trump has generated.
It's a really interesting time to be here and to speak to the people, Anya. Frankly, it feels so distant from global politics regarding how important Greenland has suddenly become because of what Donald Trump has been saying, his idea to buy the country. A lot of people I speak to speak about their own individual issues. So the fishermen are concerned, for instance, about being part of Denmark and therefore exporting into Denmark and into the European Union, and what it would mean if they were to be taken over by the United States for their fishing. Would they have to deal with different quotas, and would they have different competitors, etc.? When it comes to the minerals issue, a lot of people sort of seem, there's some people that think that Greenland should use those resources for itself rather than allowing the big players in to come and mine for those resources, but the big players are the ones that have the capacities to do that. A bit of sort of context of what it's like here. It's a closed circuit city, Nuuk, the capital, as are all of the different towns and villages that are mainly up the south and west coast of Greenland. Pretty much the large percentage of this country is an ice sheet in the centre, and you can't really access it. But in these towns, if you see the sort of roads that are going by me here, the cars that are going down there, they're on a closed circuit. You can't take a motorway up to the next town along. The port is just there behind me. The airport I can see just over in the distance over there. It's closed. People are living. They're not going far, despite the international presence here, due to fishing, due to minerals, due to the international interest that's here. There's a lot of people from different countries as well. So it's a sort of strange mix of highly international and extremely local. And the people of Greenland are finding that slightly jarring, I think, at the moment.
Let's talk about Denmark, because you mentioned it in your report, that the people there are quite keen on independence from Denmark. How likely is that to ever happen, or to happen anytime soon?
So there's a strong push from a number of the political parties to get independence from Denmark. As we said, there's just under €1 billion comes from Denmark to Greenland in grants and subsidies, a range of different ones. And what the Greenlanders are saying, though, is that because they're forced to do a lot of their trade through Denmark, the flights that fly in and out of the capital go to Copenhagen, that's how you get in and out of this country, that actually, if they were independent, they would be able to generate that wealth themselves. There's a big debate amongst the people here about exactly what that would be. There's a push for an independence referendum in 2030. The Danes say that Greenlanders have a right to have the decision of their own future, but it would be difficult for them because having this country as part of their kingdom gives Denmark a lot of power because of its interest to international players, to the United States, to China, and to Russia, and because of its access into the high Arctic.
Could independence potentially open the door to other international players like Russia or China, trying to gain a foothold into Greenland?
Yeah, that is really the big question as well. Donald Trump's talking about buying it and being very public about that. But there are lots of countries, the Chinese and the Russians, who are looking for the minerals that exist here, lithium, uranium, potentially. It could be extremely, extremely abundant. We don't know because the exploration needs to happen. Some people are saying that it shouldn't happen at all and that the resources should stay in the ground. If Greenland were to be independent, a country of 55,000 people obviously doesn't have that much political power. It would potentially get a seat at the UN. It would potentially itself join the European Union if it chose to. A lot of those details are relatively unclear. But an independent Greenland could potentially be influenced by those other players. And that is why I think you see Donald Trump, the incoming US president, being so clear. And he's talking about buying it. But what a lot of the politicians have said to me while I've been speaking to them here, they say, look at the underlying thing. What he's saying here is Greenland is really important. And for the Greenlanders, they're happy that Greenland is important for the United States.
I mean, he says that it's all about national security and defence, doesn't he? Trump, I'm speaking about, of course. But there is already a US base in the far north of Greenland, isn't there?
Yeah, so there's a base right up in the north of the island. It's been there since the 1950s. At the height of the Cold War, there were around 15,000 troops up there, US military troops. At the moment, my understanding, there's about 100 people, and the facilities aren't necessarily up to date. It's mainly to do with science and to be checking the radars to see what's going on in the high Arctic, what the Chinese are doing and what the Russians are doing. So there is a chance that the United States may choose, and that Donald Trump may choose to invest heavily in that base.
DW's Jack Parrock reporting from Nuuk in Greenland. Jack, thank you so much, and you stay warm.